Right, awesome. So I'm going to go ahead, continue on with what I'm doing. All right, looks like everything's set up. So basically what I'm working on right now um, is I'm creating a Twitter strategy app where there's different sections for different categories of tweets. And the idea is that the user will be able to plan ahead and organize tweets based on these categories. And so I've hooked up authentication and Firestore to the app all in Firebase. And I've basically already shelled out all of the methods that I'm going to need to use. Well, for the most part, all the main ones. So adding sections, being able to visualize the tweets. I've shelled out the method for adding tweets. The only thing really left to do is to work on the UI. And so right now it's pretty mediocre, won't lie. So this is mainly just to be able to visualize it. And so I'm just going to continue with this. I've got a little bit of data that I've worked into Firebase. So basically I have, this is kind of like the architecture I'm thinking of for now. I'll have collection of users, bunch of documents representing each user. I'll have some information regarding that user. I'll have the different categories of tweets that the user can have, and they can modify these if they want, but I'm defaulting it to like a select 4 to start. And then in each one of these, I'll have a backlog, which will contain all of the tweets that they haven't yet put out, but they want to, the ones that they're planning. And then I'm going to have another collection called archived, where any tweets that they've already done will get moved to. And so that's kind of like the base architecture I'm working with. I'll probably expand it a little bit more. But yeah, so the next thing I wanted to work on was make the UI a little bit cleaner. This is really hideous, so that's what I'm going to work on next. So let me go back. Don't need this to be running quite yet. Okay, so first I'm going to modify my container. Do the box decoration. For now, we'll give it white, a small border radius. Actually, I am going to spin this up so I can kind of see what's going on, how it's looking. Okay, wait for that to pull up. And for those new to Flutter, typically Flutter apps are for mobile mostly. That's what most people build them as. This is a web app. Oh, we're gonna have to come back here and restyle this a little bit too. But I built this as a web app. It's not like your usual type of app you build in Flutter, but you can build web apps. And so I've been testing that out a lot these past 2 weeks, is building different web apps and seeing how I like it. My current page for Bleyl Dev, this is all built using Flutter. And so the only downside is SEO is pretty bad with Flutter Web. And so if anybody knows of any like good ways to set up SEO, I am all ears, because that's like the one downside that I've seen is SEO is difficult to set up and integrate with your web apps. So, but I don't really care about people finding this as much as me just building it for myself. So, okay, so I think I'm gonna give this a little bit of opacity. Just gonna kind of fiddle around and see how we like it. And what I want to do in here is I want it to feel like a Twitter feed. So I'm actually going to go to Twitter. Oh, I'm not logged in on that one. Okay. So I want it to feel kind of like a Twitter feed when the user's scrolling through these different tweets. So how can let's see. I'm gonna get this color. This is in dark mode on Twitter. I think I'm gonna keep that same theming and styling on the web app. So what that'll entail is this container here. Box decoration. And do width is going to be screen size. Height. I don't think I'm going to attach a height to it. I don't know. Okay, and then I'm going to need to attach a height. And the width is way too big. Oh, it's because the width for this guy, the context that's being passed, is actually, it's like out to here. A little bit bigger than this container. So I'm actually going to need to shrink that down more. I probably will need to add in a height. Otherwise, it's going to look bad. So let's do 1.4. I'm trying to think I want to do this. Thinking I'm going to add some styling to this guy. What is it? What's that default? What's it called? Lato, that's what it is. Yeah. Okay. Page for that. I don't. Okay, so I think the context is actually the full page that's being passed. That shouldn't be like that. Set screen size here. Oh, so it is the full page. Okay. Okay, I can work with that though. As long as I know what I'm looking for. Trying to figure out like what is, yeah, like this. I want it to fill up most of this container in terms of width, but not the whole thing. I think it's like, let's try like 2.5. Let's see. Yeah. I'll make sure it's responsive and looking good. To go on DMA. Okay, so let's put some padding in between each one. So we have this center. So I'm gonna add a column here. Children. Here. And then say after each container, I'll just add a small size box to give it a little bit of, actually not even. Let's just do some padding. I'll cut that. And I'll add some symmetrical padding. Valid member on null UID. Okay, no idea where that just came from. Everything was working just fine. Okay, space it out a little bit. Okay, let's go back to Twitter and see. Okay, so I want to display the user's Twitter handle as well. I think on this like dummy account that I'm using, I didn't put one. So let's add a Twitter handle, Bleyl dev. And then I want to add it like just above. So we have our container. Inside the container, we're going to have a column. So that's our tweet text. Some of our tweets are going to be multiple lines. So I'm going to say max lines. Say 5. I'm going to have to do some validation to confirm that there's like a character restriction and to limit them to certain character restrictions. So like, yeah, we'll figure that out later. For now, let's just get the styling of all these tweets figured out. And I'm going to get it figured out for this specific one and then just copy them for the other 3. And then I'm going to need a title here as well at the top of the box. I think I made a diagram for how I want it to be. Just side real quick. Yeah, I made a diagram for this. So, so the idea being there'll be the category names, button here to edit the category name to whatever you want it to be, and then a list of these tweets. But I think I want to include the Twitter handle of the user as well in that top left. That's like the general idea of what I'm trying to do here. So let's see here. So the Twitter handle, there's like a quick method for that. Grab that. Fire. Do this. Future string. Get handle. Firebase auth. Instance. Current user. UID. Firebase Firestore. Instance. Collection. Users. I'm getting the user's UID, navigating to document, this document, and then I want to get the Twitter handle. So I'm going to say this should be a document reference. Okay. Document snapshot, that's what it is. There we go. Doc.data. Call it Twitter handle. And I'll come back and add better error handling later. Okay. So let's go up here. Sections. Handle is equal to await get handle. Statement, and I can remove. I had another print statement I'm not using anymore. That one. Okay. Um, okay, so let's get this stream builder. Got it. Place it inside of a column widget. Maybe no, I'm gonna use a stack. Let's do a stack. Stack. Children, add it. And then I'll get a position later. And let's use the same styling we used here. We'll just increase the font size. Why isn't it auto form? Huh. I seriously have no idea why it's not auto formatting for me. Okay. There we go. That's weird. Let's make it 30. And oh crap. Okay, this is the wrong thing that I'm doing right now. I'm thinking of the title, but I'm writing it as if it's going to be the Twitter handle, but the Twitter handle needs to be on each tweet. So I'm going to need to fix that. For now, I'll keep it as handle. That's fine. But I do also want to add in this right above each tweet in the column. To the tweet. That. What is that? Okay. I want to align that to the far left. Actually, I want to align both. Cross-axis alignment. Cross-axis alignment dot start. Good. Let's see what font Twitter uses. Helvetica New. Use that instead then. Helvetica. Come on. Google Fonts has to have this. Seriously. Okay. I guess we'll just use Roboto for now. It looks almost identical. So we'll use that instead. Okay. Let's give it some padding within this container. So we have our container, we have our column inside of that. So let's just give the padding around the column. And padding, image insets.all. Start with 5 and go from there. Okay, let's minimize the font a little bit of the handle and then make it like a gray instead. Fine. Hold on. Let's grab that particular shade. Dark slate gray. Heat up a little bit. Oh man, that's dark. You can hardly see it, but that's fine. And okay. And I'm thinking maybe we use that same gray for the background. Or maybe this search Twitter part. I think it's the exact same gray. Let's see though. What's that? Right here. Okay, I actually like that a lot more. That feels nicer. Let's give some padding to this top part and actually make it display section that we're working with. We already have a method written to get the section names. I think, hold on one second. Okay, it's fine. Move that for the linter. Hit strategy sections. I think that's it. And something on my to-do list with this project is to come back through and add in better state management. I'm torn between using block or trying out RiverPod. I have never used RiverPods before, but I've heard good things about it. I've got a lot of stuff involved with my state in this app. I probably won't get too far before I add in some state management, but for now, not like crucial. And I'm more concerned with just getting the UI and the basic concept going. And so I'm not really concerned about it. Okay, so let's see here. Where is that title? Right here. Handle, I don't want to use handle. I want to use section titles. Specifically, spot 0. Perfect. Okay, let me just confirm that this matches up. Strategy, industry buzz, sample tweet 2, test tweet. Okay, that matches up. I want to center it. Yeah, that's not gonna work. That's the problem, it's positioned. So. Okay. I just removed the position though. I think there's really a need for that. Okay, I didn't want to do this, but maybe we'll add more information into the top bar later on. Awesome. Padding from the top. Okay, too much. And adding the position defeated the purpose of what I just did with that row. Let's try padding instead then. Okay, so this is the other thing. I want to make sure that this goes behind industry buzz, and so I think all I need to do is just swap these in the stack. Should be all I need to do. Let's find where the end of the stream builder is. There. Add that in. There we go. Goes behind. For those that are just joining in, basically making a Twitter strategy organizer app. So the idea is that you can create and plan out a bunch of your tweets, and you'll have different sections. That way you cycle through a wide variety of different tweets. And then you can, hopefully what I'll do in the end is you'll be able to swipe to the right and you can archive a tweet. So if you used it in your feed, you'd swipe to the right, archive it, it'd go to the archives. If you swipe to the left, you can delete it if you're no longer going to use it. And then the idea being that this is just a list that you can come back to, and so you can like sit down once a week, plan out your week's tweets if you want to do that sort of thing. Some people like being spontaneous, but others who put a lot of time into strategizing and planning out their tweets, this is something that they do. There's a lot of software out to do it, but it costs a lot of money, and honestly, I don't feel like it's really worth it. So I'm just building this kind of for fun. I've been testing out Flutter Web for 2 weeks now, and so this is just another little project to continue testing it out with. So far I've been pleased, but I've had some qualms with SEO and Flutter Web. So that's kind of the big downside to it, is working with SEO. But other than that, I've been very happy. So just kind of continuing on this. Okay, so let's think here. I don't know if I want it to go all the way to the edge. Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. Okay, I'm going to copy what I've got so far here into the other ones. So let's make these same adjustments into the other ones. Let me just see. So they're going to all be the same with the exception of the position in the sections. So I think I can just copy the entire container and then just swap out. That's all I need to do. Hold up. Swap this. That's a 1. My streams, swap that. Oh, that's not good. Error just got thrown. Index out of range should be less than 1. What was it trying to? It could be referring to this. Yeah, I think that was it. Okay. Okay. Let's place this. To be position 2. And the last container. 3. Awesome. I'm going to add in some more fake tweets just so we can get a good idea how it's going to look. Okay. Turn this off. I just want to turn it off. Lock to the. I think that'll do it. Okay. Let's just do the following. Let's just take my most recent tweets from Twitter, and we are going to use those for our sample tweets. And this is more realistic, so add another document. Okay. Okay. So 1, we need more padding. 2, the emojis don't show. You can see here, grinning face with smiling eyes. So I'll need to look into that and see how to add in emojis into Firebase and how to store those. I've never dealt with that before, so that's an interesting one. But the other thing is I want more padding around this text. The app Bleyl dev is fine, but around the tweet itself, there needs to be more padding. And realizing this now, this is bad. Like, I can't read that. That looks bad, doesn't look good. On this one, you don't even notice it really because it's mostly gray. But when you have a full tweet and it scrolls behind this, that doesn't look very good. So maybe we could do 1 of 2 things. We could put a background behind this self-promotion part, or maybe like the whole top, it's like a bar. The other thing, if we go to the website I just built, I've added in this top menu bar. If you see when I scroll down, it kind of starts to gradually, based on the scrolling, it gradually becomes a solid color. So I could do that as well. That's another option. It'd take longer, but it'd look a lot, might look cool. It also might be distracting. It might be nicer just to start with a solid background and then go from there. I think let's do that. We'll start with a solid color background, and then this will fade behind that background. And then later on, maybe as you scroll, it'll start to turn dark to where right when you hit like this spot, it'll be completely dark. I don't know if that would look good or not. I'm not sure. Anyways, let's add in that background. Let's do it on 1, and then we can apply it to all. We have our stack, stream builder. It's this guy right here. So we have our row. Let's just put this in a container. I might have to come through and refactor some of this and clean it up a little bit more. I'm typically always about MVP first for everything, and then can always clean up later. And I don't actually want any padding on this. No, I do want padding on the row. Defaulting that edge insets dot only top 15. I don't know if I like that. I need to do border radius on the top edges only. I think to do that, border radius dot only top left and top right. And do that, let me see. What's the object type? It's supposed to be, oh, it's just a radius. Circular. Okay. Going on, Emmanuel. Manuel. I guess pronunciation is different depending on where you're from. Okay. Let's turn back the padding from the top a little bit and then also add some to the bottom. Yeah, there we go. Okay. So let's take this revised container, add it to the other three areas. I think I did it in place. Second guess myself. I think I did it in place of the padding. Yeah, I did in place of the padding. That's where I did it. Yep. Yeah. More. Place this one. And last one. Okay. Not amazing, but it's okay. And you can see here, there's like a, if you look closely, you can like barely make out, like right behind that, some text. It's hardly noticeable, but like that kind of bothers me a little bit. I'm not sure how to deal with that quite yet. Honestly, I should make like a backlog of all the little things that are bothering me that I want to come back and clean up. But one thing I do want to start cleaning up with though, and I'm going to take a step away from this page and go back into that authentication sequence, because if you saw that earlier, it's kind of janky. So let's run it again so that pops up. And I apologize if the stream's a little laggy. It's the downside to streaming from a MacBook Pro. So unfortunately, you kind of need to have a MacBook Pro or a Mac product if you want to do iOS development. This is web development, so I don't need it. But when using Flutter, typically Mac's the best way to go. Okay, so I'm gonna modify this to one, fit the color scheme that we use on the homepage, and two, fill up this emptiness at the bottom. Like this is just ugly. So we're gonna go to authentication page. Okay. Text form field right here. We have a size box at the bottom. Okay. I just need to see what portion of the screen I need to pad in order for this to end up filling up the entire page, but not too much to where this bottom bar gets pushed off. So I think it's probably about 4 point. Okay, so that's also an issue, is I'm not using like a dynamic sized box in the middle. Okay, so let's take a look at that. Have some padding. Oh. Okay. This one, this is the one that I want to be 4.7. And then side box. This one can go back to 40. And this one can go to 4.7. That's what was going on. I was changing the padding within this container instead of changing the padding at the top and bottom above and below this container. So that's why it was looking a little funky. That makes more sense. Okay, let's try 3.7. And what I'm doing here with this screen size is it's taking the size of the screen based on, you know, how big or small the user has it, and it's adjusting that size. Like it's making it dynamically sized. So the trouble is in finding that perfect ratio to where you get like a nice looking screen no matter how big or small you go. This looks good though. I need to make this thinner, and then I need to change everything to fit the color scheme of the next page. So let's just log in really quick to take another look at that and figure out what colors we want where. So I'm thinking for the modal itself, we'll use this color. For the input fields, we'll use this color. And then for the button, not sure. Maybe that, no. Not sure about that one. Okay. So let's go back to auth. So the first thing is that white. We have our big box and it's white. So we want it to be, I think this color. Perfect. This is all, I need to change that underline and cursor color too. Let's change all the text to white. That'll be white regardless. This will be white. And then let's make sure the fonts match. Photo. that white. Okay, do some styling on the add this to the other input field. Okay. Cursor colors next. Add that to the other one as well. Then I want to change the underline color. Just have to look this one up. Change underline color flutter. That's form field, or it's a decoration. I've looked at this page quite a bit. I always have to come back here and recall what it was. It's this guy right here. Except there's no need for all these new tags. I don't know why I did that. What's up, Chase? So what I'm working on right now is a Twitter strategy organizer type app. So I'll sign in here so you can get a general idea for what's going on. So the idea is that you can add a backlog of tweets, so you can kind of plan out your week and the tweets that you want to put out for that week. And so most people that I've talked with follow a general rule that they have certain categories that they try to hit each day, and they cycle through those different categories. So in this case, this is like a default categories that you could go to. An industry buzz tweet, so some kind of tweet confirming that you know what you're talking about in whatever industry you're in, your brand is in. A self-promoting tweet, so like a link to an article, video, book, whatever it may be that you've created. A networking tweet, so something to connect and start a conversation and network with other people on Twitter. And then a quick question, some kind of provoking question that engages and gets some of your followers to reply and have a conversation with you. And so the idea is that the user can create a large backlog, so they don't have to get on Twitter every day. They can just create a backlog on a single day, and they can spend like 2 hours and come up with like 40 tweets for the week. And then they can just come here and they can just copy them and paste them right into Twitter when they're ready to use them. If you swipe, I'm going to have some swiping. If you swipe to the right, you can archive the tweet. So say you already used it, you can archive it, and then you can have a backlog of on another page of all the tweets you've already used. And then if you swipe the other direction, you'll be able to delete the tweet if you no longer want to use it. So that's the idea. Right now I'm cleaning up a lot of stuff that was looked over at the start. So I'm specifically cleaning up how the main page when you log in or sign up works. So the backend is mostly done. I'm using Firebase, and so Authentication's hooked up. I'm right now trying to style the front end and make these text input boxes all uniform in their theming and styling. And so this is what I'm trying to fix, is like these little things, like this blue underline right now is what I'm trying to fix. And I'm trying to make all the colors consistent with how they are throughout the app. So yeah, that's kind of what I'm doing right now. So we've enabled border. We have focused border. I think, yeah, that was the one. So those are the two borders that I need to add. Awesome. Okay, let's work on these buttons. I think I'm going to do white buttons with dark gray text on the inside. Well, we'll just look at it and see how that looks. So, let's see. Honestly, I might want to go back through and set up my app theme. That way I don't have to repeat a lot of these colors. Because at the beginning it wasn't a big deal, but now it's kind of starting to get to be somewhat of a nuisance. So maybe I'll work on that here in a little bit. Okay. Let's take a look at that. Mess around with this font a little bit. What happens if I make it black? That looks a little bit better, I think. Okay. Sign up. Okay. And I want to bring it in a little bit. I don't want it quite so wide because you'd have to have an extremely long email to fill that space. Like I could type this. Yeah, I can almost type it 3 full times and fill up that space. There's no need for it to be that wide. Let's go ahead, make that thinner, that root container. Here we go. Maybe a little too much. Sure, that's good. Okay. Leave that as is for now. If anyone has any ideas on how to make that even cleaner, please let me know. Okay. So this page is looking good so far. We have no way to add in a tweet yet. I have the backend logic for adding tweets already set up, but I don't have like a button or a pop-up or anything to actually incorporate that yet. I'm thinking of having just like a floating action button in the bottom right hand corner. And then when you click it, maybe have a drop down. And in that drop down, they can select one of these 4, maybe, and then add in the tweet that they want to add. I'm trying to think what would be most like user friendly. As far as authentication, right now it's just through email. I'll probably hook up Google authentication as well, so you can sign with the Gmail account. I'm not worrying about that quite yet. Yeah, so not. I'll probably shift to that later on, but for now I'm keeping it as just basic email. It's just simpler. So I'm just trying to get an MVP up and running with this, and then I'll make improvements like that. I honestly have a huge backlog of like improvements I want to make though. Like it's always like I'm always torn between doing an MVP and like really trying to make it perfect from the beginning. I feel like, however, whenever I try to make it perfect from the beginning, then I always end up changing it anyways. And so that's why I kind of just want to build it out and then clean it up later. Otherwise, I'll probably just end up changing it anyways. And so rather than save myself, I'm just going to save myself the time and just build an MVP and then add in those details later on. Okay. So let's see here. Oh yes, that button. So I could add like a plus button icon here in the top right corner. And then that way I would already know which one I'm adding it for, and that would simplify it a lot more, my pop-up. Or I could add a big plus here in the bottom. I'm trying to think what might be more self-explanatory though. I'm not sure. So, okay. Go ahead and add that. Let's go ahead and add that in. Okay, just like how we've been doing it, we're going to add it to 1, and then we can add it to all. Okay, here's the container, row, text. Okay, here's where I want to do it. Icon, button. Okay. Sweet. Now it'll do nothing. What's the Flutter icons? I want the plus with a circle around it. Joy Bachelorette, Chase. The add box, add circle outline. Okay. So where did I have that? I already lost it. Oh, here we go. Add circle outline. Sweet. Looks good. Now I just want to force it all the way to the right. So there we go. And I'll just give the, trying to think about this. If, actually this is gonna be okay. Space between. Add 3 flexible widgets. I'll give the first and the last a flex of 5. And the middle one, flex of 14. And the middle one will have this. The last one will have the icon button. And the top one, for now, we'll just keep it empty. Maybe I'll just do a size box with a little bit of width. Awesome. Actually, let's make that. Okay. So this is still centered. We now have that button on the right-hand side. Okay. So let's go ahead and copy this in. Do the other ones. And just replace this with a 1. We have 2 more to go. Replace that with a 2. Last one. Replace this with a 3. Okay, am I missing something here? Where did my button go? Oh. This needs to be space between. Not sure what else I'm missing here. Must have changed something else. Oh, let me change the space between first. Okay, that's why that guy was breaking. Space between. Space between. Yeah. Start 460. Okay. That was what was up. Okay. All right. Now let's get to work on that pop-up. So I'll probably, trying to think, I'm gonna use the show dialog method. I believe it should work fine on web. Let's see, Flutter web pop-ups. I don't know where dialog. Flutter alert dialog. Ooh, there's some packages we could use. So I don't really like packages that don't show images. Otherwise, I have to go through a long process of building it, only to be disappointed if it's not what I'm looking for. Let's check out, what is it? Gems, Flutter gems. You guys haven't seen this before. Flutter gems is like a curated widget website. They basically go through and pick out the best of each kind of widget. So let's go ahead and see what kind of pop-up ones they recommend. Okay, drawer, that's slightly different. Dialogs. Awesome dialog. I just want something simple, but like not that simple. This one looks kind of nice. I think I'll use that. Let's see. Yes, they do web. Okay. Awesome dialog, context, dog type. If the okay. Okay, so I think what we'll do is we'll just call, we'll use alert dialog and then call this inside of that. Check out their example. Animated button, press event. Oh, so they just do this within their onPress method. They just say awesome dialog dot dot show, and it pops up. Unbutton cancel, unbutton OK. Okay, where was that warning dialog, error dialog, success, no header, custom body? This is the one I'm going to be using. It's that one right there. Let's first install it. So awesome dialog. See how well this is actually going to work out. Spec. I'll add it right below icons and before provider. Let's test it out on our topmost add button. Back to the example. Where was that custom one I saw? Body. Okay. Body. We're gonna have a text. That's gonna be an input field. And then we're gonna have a button. I just want to get a general idea for how it's gonna look and how it's gonna function. Dialog type.info. See if that error still persists once we start it up again. For anyone who's just joining in, what we're doing is messing around with some custom pop-up dialogs. And so the idea is we want to provide a dialog where the user can easily add in a tweet. Login. Need to turn off that. So I think I did under industry buzz. Okay, so the width is ridiculous. That info button is also ridiculous. So let's remove that. Let's actually see what kind of types they have, because this is just the info one, but I saw that they have a lot of other ones too. So we have error, info, no header, successful. Okay, I think we just want no header. Animate type dot. I don't think we want to specify that, do we? I'm curious, what does this accomplish? API documentation. Type of dialogue, enter animation. Okay, is there a width that we can mess around with? Okay, there is. Yeah, I was about to say, if they don't allow us to modify the width, this would look hideous on web. Like, yeah, it would work, but should one use a provider with Firebase Auth? You don't have to. I did just because it's an easy way to manage my authentication state. But there's a lot of different ways that you can handle authentication with Firebase. By no means is provider the only or go-to way. It's a popular way, but it's not necessary. Okay, let's modify the width on this guy. So let's say width will be screen size dot width divided by. I don't want to be too small, but I also don't want it to be huge. Yeah, I've found every person prefers something different. You're never gonna. And the other thing is, Flutter and Google, they're never gonna tell you that one way is the way to do it, because they'll anger a lot of people if they give a preference. So unless it's something that they come out with and is like in-house, they're never really gonna say this is the way to do it. But that's the other nice thing with Flutter. Like, there's a ton of different ways you can do things, and each have their own advantages or disadvantages. For example, like some people rave about like Flutter Block, and I love it. It's great for state management, but I feel like when you're doing small apps, like if you have like a single page application, I just feel like it's overkill. Like it's a lot of work and a lot of stuff. It's like not necessary. And if you don't even have a lot of state management stuff to handle, it kind of feels unnecessary. But when your app starts to get bigger, it's great to use. So it kind of just depends. Everybody has their own preferences. So, okay, this is too small of a width. So let's scale it to 2. I'm not really sure. Actually, let's just see how wide they think the context is. Okay. So let's divide by 2 and see what happens, what that looks like. So that's probably what we want, actually. Yeah, that's about what we want right there. And this is going to be taller once we put in the button and we put in the text field. So let's go ahead and do that. Yeah, it can be difficult to do that. And I think the other struggle is when you're watching tutorials is that like you're trying to make it work for what you're building. And oftentimes you've already incorporated other stuff and it doesn't mesh well. So that can be the struggle sometimes with, you know, YouTube tutorials. And I try to make mine as simple as possible, but even then, sometimes it can be too simple, or sometimes it doesn't work with what other people are doing. So it's definitely a struggle as a YouTuber in putting out content to put out something that works for everybody. It's hard. Okay, so let's do a text form field here. And then we're gonna have a button. I'm gonna put the button inside of a container so I can give it some nice styling. Material button. Text. Add tweet. On pressed. Okay. We need to create a text form field for this guy. Yeah. Create text form field. I'm trying to think if it should be okay. Yeah, we should be. I'm trying to think through how I want to do this, and what I'm thinking of doing should be fine. Let's do text editing controller, and we'll call this one tweet controller is equal to text editing controller. Text form field, controller, tweet controller, decoration, input decoration, int text, the enter tweet here, hint style. We've actually kind of already done this up above. Use this guy, and then we'll just turn down the font size to 20. Okay. What do we want to do next to this? We have hint, lines. Hint max line. Oh, we're inside the input decoration. I'm thinking here, why won't it let us? Yeah, max lines, we'll say 5. I don't think, no, there should be no overflow. It'll just keep on going this side. I hate how it does that. Okay, I want to add in, one, I need to add in some padding, and 2, I want to add a border to this whole thing and just make it like a simple box. So like, well, similar to how we did here, we'll make, hopefully if it allows us to, that package that we're using, we'll make this guy the light gray, and then we'll make the inside of this input field the dark gray. but let's first add some padding. That. Okay, that's not how you spell edge. Try like 7. I'm actually just going to add to the sides. Horizontal 10. Don't feel like it's adding any padding whatsoever. Let's do something dramatic like 50 and see how that'll end up looking. Okay, it is working. It's just I wasn't doing a high enough padding. Okay. Now let's add in that gray area behind it. So text form field. Let's put you. Oh, do we want to put inside of a decoration or a container? Because this is just controlling the input. It's not controlling the border around it. Flutter text form field border. Okay, I do want to do something like that. Use enabled border and input decoration and focus border. I don't care about that. All I care. This is all I care about right here. It's outline input border. Okay. Text form field. So we have our input border. Circular colors. There is that special color. That's not the dark one, that's the light one. Hold up. I actually grabbed it recently. So these are the most recent ones I grabbed. This was the darker of the two, that was the lighter one. So let's grab the darker of the two. And these are colors as found on Twitter. So I'm trying to use their theming as much as possible, just so it gives you like a feel as if you're using Twitter. Okay. That is extreme. I only want it to be like, say 8. Okay. And let's see if we can give it a background color. Fill color. Okay. One, the focus border needs to change, cursor color, and text color are all going to need to change. But also, we need to change the inside. I thought fill color would do it. Let's see. Text, form, field, flutter, background color. Let's just look at the documentation. Text form field class. Input decorator. Cursor color. Look at input decorator. So I want to keep that. That's going to be our fill color or background color. Cursor color, the colors.white. I have to figure that out. I have a feeling that if I make the, like if I put this inside of a container, it'll just be kind of like transparent. Wrong in calling Firebase auth initialize in different widgets. It's okay to initialize in multiple places. Best practice is to do it in one though. So what I did in mine here is I call it immediately when I enter the app. And this seems to be like the new norm for people using the new Flutterfire updates. So basically you just make your main method asynchronous, you call await firebase.initialize app, and then you never need to do it again. So basically when the app loads up, it initializes Firebase and you're good to go. And that way you don't have to repeat it in multiple places. I can't imagine there being a situation where that would like be too burdensome on your application, where you need to say it in multiple different places and only have it happen in certain cases. So I think this is probably the best way to do it. I haven't heard or seen otherwise elsewhere. I think this is what you're talking about, but yeah. Okay, so I made this container. I just want to try this out. Okay, that's all I needed to do. That was simple. Okay, so let's go ahead and take this color. Let's give this guy a border radius, and actually we need to do a decoration instead of color. Box decoration. Struggling to type tonight. Border radius. Dot circular. 5. We want to do 5. I'm gonna do like 8. And I can actually remove the border entirely. Although, no, I'm gonna keep it. I'm gonna keep this border. Otherwise, it's gonna default to that ugly blue underline. So we have enabled border and we have focused border. Oh, it's still got that blue. Come on. What is enabled, focused? There really should not be any other border. Like that should be it. Let's just restart the app. Okay. Only thing left to do is make sure everything is white, and the styling of this text is just like the default. We need to change it to be the font and color and all that. If you want to grab an instance for multiple widgets. Oh, are you saying like Flutterfire? So like if we were to say, I mean, like Firebase, what is it? Firebase Firestore .instance, like something like that, or like Firebase auth.instance, only calling it once. I've seen like you can pass around. I've seen, yeah, that's fine. Like I've seen that passed around, but I guess it kind of depends on what you're trying to do. Could get kind of weird depending on what you're trying to do. Yeah, to query stuff, yeah. You can do that. It could get a little weird. I'd be careful. But it should be fine. I think it should be fine. But it depends on what you're doing. If you want to like show me specifically like your use case, what you're trying to do, you could just jump on the Discord channel. And so the Bleyl Dev Discord. So if you have any questions, people typically just post them here. I'm usually available. I mean, I'm in the US, so it depends where you are, but typically between like 8 a.m. and like 10 p.m. here in the US, I'm typically available and can answer questions and see what you're talking about. Is it wrong to call the grab method? Not super familiar with the grab method. grab. What do you mean by grab? Like 3 a.m. there? Okay, I'm guessing you're in Europe, sounds like? Eastern Europe? Or Middle East-ish? Western Asia? I'm not quite sure what you meant by the grab method, but I can always look into it. It's not called grab, get instance or something. Okay. Let's see here. So like this firebase.instance, is that what you're talking about? Sweet. It's like Firebase or Firebase Firestore.instance. I'm curious, what kind of object would that be? Firebase auth. That instance. I think what would this be? I think that should be fine. I mean, it's not like normal. I don't think I've seen. Typically, what people do is create like a service class where they instantialize it once and then they just reference that class to call a bunch of methods. I haven't set anything like that up yet. Right now, I'm just creating new instances with each method. But typically, people have like a single service class and then you can call your different methods from there. That's like the better way to do it, which would kind of be like what I'm doing right now is kind of what you're talking about in calling it in different widgets. Well, I don't know if you say different widgets, but like each method reinstantializes a new instance that it's using, which isn't the most effective way to do it. Like I'm going to create a service class later on, but this is just kind of like an MVP, minimal viable product. Let's see here. I want to make the background dark. Right, text styling I think is what we were working on too just a minute ago. Copy that. Yeah, no problem. Again, if you want to like show me a specific case that you're working with, I'm trying to think where the link. If you go to an easy way to find the Discord server is if you go to bleyl.dev and scroll down. You'll see at the bottom here, there's this Discord icon, and that'll take you right to the server. So if you have like an example and you want to show me, that's the easiest way to do it. And I'll typically respond pretty quickly. I won't respond quickly right now. Actually, maybe I will. Maybe I'll look at it and see what you're talking about. But yeah, I'm in US East, so that's it's 3 a.m. there, so it's a 7-hour difference of time. So tomorrow at about 3 o'clock in the afternoon is when I'll probably get on again. I'll probably get off here in a couple minutes. Okay, so let's go and take a look at the awesome dialog. Is there a color button? Okay, color. If not, I think unless they put like a default padding around the dialog, like on the edges, unless they did that, I should be able to make the entire background color a certain color. Let's see if I can do that actually. So we have center. Where's the end of that center? cut that. Okay. Let's get that dark color. That one. It does have that default padding. Man, I was hoping it wouldn't. Yeah, let's see if there's another way to change that background color. Let me just check like right inside of it if they have some kind of property for that. Just cancel and okay. Service class for each. No, what I've been thinking of, so let's see. Flutter Firebase service. Let's see if this is a good one. I'm trying to find you an example so I can kind of show you what I'm thinking. Yeah. So you basically would have a service where you set up the instance just once, and then you would have a bunch of methods within this service that executes certain functions based on using this core root instance. And this way you'd only need to set up the instance one time, and then all you need to do is create methods that utilize that service. Using that with provider or like some other kind of, oh, here we go. Here's a full example for you. Using this with provider, it's actually, I think I already did this for, yeah, I already did this for you, kind of. It's a little bit different, but I kind of set up a service like this for authentication. And so I've got my base Firebase auth instance here, except it's not .instance, it's just a Firebase auth object. But I'm using that for each of these different methods. I just call it and then perform the different methods I want to on it. And the way that I reference this in my code, if I go to my auth page, I can kind of show you an example. Go to my buttons. Yeah, this is the provider. So I say context.read, my service type, and then I can call the different methods within that service. The model related calls like list all to-dos. Not quite sure. Are you just mean like list all profiles? Are you storing them in Firestore? I would have a different, well, you could do a single class that has both your authentication and your Firestore stuff. You could also separate them into two different things. Just depends. If you do separate them into two different things and you're using provider, you are going, I believe you're going to have to set up multiple providers for each one of those. Yeah. Cool. Yeah, you could put them both in the same one or separate. Kind of depends what you want to do. Let's add some styling to the button. Actually, I will probably call it there. I'll try to jump on more frequently. I'm going to start streaming probably once, twice a week. So I hope you enjoyed this. But next time I get on, I'll probably have gotten a little bit further with this, and hopefully I'll have an MVP ready and it'll be more refactoring. But if you need any help with anything, feel free to jump on the Discord. I'm typically available between 8 and 10-ish Eastern time in the US. Catch you guys next time.